Welcome to Conveyancing Matters with Lorraine and Stu. Join us for a chat about all things property.
Mr. Forsdyke, how the hell are you?
Hey, Miss Richardson, I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. So, Stu, the dust has started to settle slightly. The Property Information Form 6th edition rolled out by the Law Society on the 13th of October. So I just thought letting the world have our initial quick thoughts on it wouldn't be a bad thing. So, first things first, Stu, have firms got the actual proper Property Information Form 6th edition as part of their forms packages yet?
Not 100% sure I can speak for absolutely everybody, but I know not all case management providers have instituted it as yet. Probably, bearing in mind that the previous fiasco, maybe they've not had the appetite to be as quick off the mark this time. But we haven't started to use it, or we haven't had it uploaded with the provider that we use at the moment. But I'm sure that will change shortly.
Yeah, excellent. So, for any conveyancer that's been in a cave for the last year and a half, of course, we had a massive sort of furore with the Property Information Form 5th edition, which the Law Society tried to introduce in 2024. They changed the form massively, increased the number of sections to 25, tried to pick up all the material information stuff which was unceremoniously dumped this May by trading standards. And of course that 5th edition form, Stu, don't want to go over it too much, but it was a real dog's breakfast, wasn't it?
Well, that's a great way of describing it. Let's maybe say the whole subject matter and the way it's been dealt with has been a bit of is it a dog's breakfast or is it a dog's dinner?
Well, I think possibly both, because it was that bad. It was breakfast and dinner, regurgitated at tea time and reconsumed. That's how I would suggest it. So, so the 5th edition, the Law Society wouldn't withdraw it. So there was a vote of no confidence in them last year, which they staved off. But I think sort of listened to that prompted the Law Society to listen. So they've had quite a big consultation. They've now rolled out the 6th edition of the Property Information Form. So now only 15 sections. So it's really son of 4th edition Property Information Forms, Stu. And at least they seem to have sort of jettisoned, for example, all of the leasehold stuff that had crept into a form that's essentially used on freehold transactions. And all of the stuff that really worried us from a misrepresentation point of view, Stu, and a caveat emptor point of view. So at least the seller being asked about, physical characteristics of the property and building safety in particular, at least they've gone. So, and I always felt, Stu, actually, the Law Society have been a bit disingenuous when they're talking about, solicitor liability wouldn't have increased with the 5th edition. I don't think it was ever that was the problem. It was the fact that our sellers might face
absolutely. Claim. Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first thing to point out is if we want to be really loose in terms of a comment, it's better. So we have got something that's better. The disappointing part of this is probably the whole process and the months we've gone through to get to this point regarding something which, dare I say, would be relatively simple to amend. I mean, at the end of the day, we are just maybe, adding a few questions here than there in a form that already existed. So I think that the process of getting to where we are has been disappointing, but trying to take a positive from it, we now have a form which is better than what we were previously looking at.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair comment, Stu, and certainly looking on social media this week, that certainly seems to be the consensus from conveyancers out there. It's, of course, undoubtedly an improvement on the 5th edition, but to be quite honest, it would have been hard to be worse, wouldn't it? But I think the consensus is it's an improvement on the 4th edition, but as you quite rightly say, there's been a lot of money spent by the Law Society, and it's the likes of me contributing to that. There's been a lot of money spent by the Law Society to do, frankly, potentially not a great deal, but it's fair to say it's a better form. The explanatory notes are much, much better, much, much clearer. So I think that will raise a question, Stu, for conveyancers, obviously, of course, CLC regulated and SRA regulated, whether, for example, firms decide to send the explanatory notes to sellers and buyers as a matter of course on every transaction. I think that's certainly what the Law Society is suggesting.
Yeah, I think that would be a positive, wouldn't it? That's something that I think would be positive to take from the whole thing. You know, like I said before, I'm going to harp on about it. It's just seems to have been overly, you know, everyone's made this such a complicated issue where it was something that was so simple. And again, you know, with all the things that are potentially wrong in conveyancing, or you know, where we could have looked to improve things, I'm not sure this was ever a subject matter that was that broken and needed that much of a fix in the first place. You know, a client's appetite for information is still fairly lukewarm. That's always the key, I think, at the onset. And when we talk about material information and what clients want to know, I'm not sure how much they do want to know. You know, in our eyes, from our sort of side of the fence, yes, of course, they want to know how much they can afford on a monthly payment on a mortgage and what's been left and taken in terms of the furniture. Some of the rest of it, I'm not quite sure that, you know, this kind of, you know, push for lots and lots of information is actually what a client wants.
No, and I think the flip side, and I agree with you 100%.
And then, of course, you're then building in a liability because we're providing more information.
Yeah, exactly. And I also think the flip side is that a new improved explanatory notes and arguably, you know, a clearer, perhaps better set out form, it is not going to improve the quality of responses provided by most sellers. Every single conveyancer watching this chat, Stu, is going to have literally hundreds of sellers who have just completed the forms in a very sort of slapdash way.
Yeah.
And I don't think the average seller client is going to complete the form any more thoughtfully than they ever did before. I mean, I think what is interesting is the Law Society have said they've increased more opportunity for the seller to write not known.
Yeah.
They've also moved some of the focus and some of the questions to, are you aware? They're asking, is the seller aware? But the immediate thing that pops into my head is the William Sindel case, not so far as the seller is aware, implying that the seller's made inquiry. And interestingly, the explanatory notes, well, the notes in the PIF 6th edition do tell the seller to check their answers against the information they've got. So I still think there are some, you know, there are some pitfalls and some potential misrep pitfalls for sellers there, which, to be fair, were perhaps always there. And some of the numbering is, you know, the numbering is slightly knocked out. So, I mean, you know, my go-to questions were always disputes, which was question 2 on the 4th is now 3. Underpinning was question 5, it's now 6. Knotweed was 7 and it's now 8. And occupiers was 11 and it's now 13. So, of course, Stu, whatever all you lovely conveyancers in practice do full time, you're going to have to be reviewing your reports, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. That goes without saying. And the way in which we report to a client on that information goes without saying too. But I think you're right when you you know, comment on the wording. And I think this is sometimes where the profession's missed a trick slightly, because it's a client that's completing the form. It's not a lawyer, and we're introducing lawyer type wording onto a form that a client completes. Well, this is where I think the danger lies.
Interestingly, Stu, on that very point, in the definition section on the PIF, in reference to the definition of a solicitor and conveyancer, it refers specifically to Land Registry Guide, Practice Guide 67. So that's exactly 100% Bob on the point that you've just made.
Yeah. No, again, you know, sometimes we lose sight of what the client's doing, and at the end of the day, we should be trying to make it easier for the client. You know, is a new form going to, reduce the amount of time it takes to complete a purchase? No. Is it going to help the client? I'm not sure if it does or not. I'm not sure. Does it actually help a buyer? Maybe we've given, a seller an increased burden rather than actually do much more than help, but I don't know.
Well, thanks, Stu. For anybody who wants to hear Stu and I talk about the Property Information Form 6th edition in more detail, you need to subscribe to the Conveyancing Matters CPD, because October's CPD, our webinar will be on the Property Information Form 6th edition, far more detail there. So do go to the Conveyancing Matters website to subscribe. Just £40 a year for an individual and £150 a year, both subject to VAT, of course, for a firm. So, you know, super value CPD. I think you'll agree, Stu.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Excellent. Well, thanks for that, Stu, and I will see you again very soon. And I hope people have got some, you know, enjoyed and perhaps been interested in our initial thoughts on the updated Property Information Form 6th edition. You take care now.
Okay, guys.
Bye.